Hey guys, welcome to 2019. We're here doing a maker table shop tour. So if you guys want to see what we make, how we make it, and kind of how we set up this place, just keep watching and we'll kind of cover all the stations and how we think about it as we're growing and adding new tools here. It's not all about just getting a new tool so we can make a new thing. I really look at everything like a process. So every new tool that we get is really part of a station is how I'm building it. I'm trying to build stations everywhere. So each new tool, we try and build like a little workspace around it that really helps us make that tool as efficient as possible so it never has to turn off is the idea. So we're going to go through some of the stations that we've created, not just the tools, and show you how we've designed them to scale into a bigger company instead of just staying in our home shop. And this is kind of some of the reasons why we made it from our little two-car garage to this huge shop here in Springfield, at least huge to us. So I really don't want to come off as bragging here, guys, with the tools. I really want to just show you how I look at this stuff. Every single tool in this shop was bought with the tool before it. You know, I don't have any funding, I don't have any sponsors. This has all just been done with the work of the people here that you guys are going to meet. So we're not only going to go through the tools, but we're going to show you guys the people that make this all happen every day, because without them, there's no reason to have all these tools, because me, myself, I can only work at one station at a time. To start with, we're gonna cover our retail section right here. This is totally new to us, and to help us kind of explain what we did in here, I've got Sydney, who is one of our salespeople. Come on over here, Sydney. Say hello.
Hi.
To the internet. All right, so here we are in the retail space. This is totally new for us. We never planned on having retail. A lot of people told me we should have it, and I really looked at this as like a manufacturing e-commerce business. So this physical retail feels really weird to me, but this building that we rented had the space, so I felt like we had to build it out. So can you just kind of explain, you know, how it works when people come in here, and we really look at this as a tool to help us sell, just like all the equipment out in the shop?
Sure. Well, the first thing that happens, people come in and they'll see these amazing signs, and then they can come over here to a stool. We can come and bring our computer, which is a really important part of the process, and we can show them firsthand how it's going to be designed, how to quote a sign, and we can work right here with them at this awesome bench. So that
Double awesome.
So people can not only see all the signs and be inspired by stuff that you've already done, but then we can also really work with them to find something that's perfect for exactly what they want.
Anything you would improve? What's your like Kaizen for out here? I'll put you on the spot.
That's a good question. I'd say that maybe it would be nice if there were more space to have where we can sit down side by side with the customer. Okay. So instead of having a salesperson behind the bench all the time, maybe do some more work side by side so that they can see.
Yeah, because we do like end up on this corner with the computer facing you, and then the person swinging around the edge.
Yeah, so
okay.
These are great, but maybe if there was just a little bit more space to be more of like a team.
Okay guys, well let's go to the office, and we'll kind of go through some of the stuff we have going on there, all right? This is the office. This is where most of our sales take place. Every single one of these computers in here, we slowly built up. We started with a used laptop that I actually bought from Dylan off the job site one day, and then we just slowly started buying more and more used laptops, and now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we have 11 or 12 laptops now, which is really crazy to me, but it's because we rely so heavily on the computer and basically to do like our 3D modeling, our 2D design stuff in Inkscape, and all this fabrication outside really starts in the digital space. We like to plan everything out as best we can up here in this office, have our CNC do all the layout that's possible, so that the guys out in the shop just have a really easy setup to drop things into, and that's again to help us scale. We thought about this whole position here of sales as how we were going to hand off this sales process. You know, I used to do 3 days of sales and 4 days a week of making stuff, and then I'd stop making and go back to sales, and then go back to making and ignore the messages for a while. But that's what got us to this point where messages got enough to fill up a whole week, and that's where I could just hand it off to somebody. It was now a full position. So that's what we're always trying to do with each one of these tools, each one of these laptops. We have a 3D printer right here that we're slowly learning how to use, and hopefully this will have enough work where it can fill up 5 days a week someday on its own, and then we'll be able to hire somebody to just 3D print 5 days a week. And that's how we'll scale into that position or that tool right there. So another example of that is actually, this is Jordan's baby, I'll let you talk about it, is the vinyl station. So when we moved into this building, we quoted out the vinyl to do all the front elevation stickers and stuff, and it was the same price to buy one of these machines as it was to get the vinyl done. So instead of paying somebody else to do it, we bought one of these machines and taught ourselves how to use it. And now this is becoming Jordan's part-time job right now. He started as full-time sales, and actually he started as a shop apprentice. Then we put him on messages one day and found out he was a sales genie, and we couldn't do without him. So now he's stuck in the office all day instead of in the shop. But to keep him interested and curious, we handed him basically this whole vinyl cutter plotter here. Basically just kind of want to explain this process a little bit to everybody.
The cool thing about the vinyl plotter is that we can take a large amount of designs and cut it all at once and just let the machine do the work for us and work on something else. And so we were able to do an entire restaurant's sign work in one day by having it all designed up and cut it out, cut through, and then go apply it on their windows.
So this can almost be like an autonomous process. Once you get it rolling, you have to kind of sit and babysit it, but you can also be doing some other activity that's adding value at the same time. So like while he's cutting vinyl, he'll also be answering messages as he can because he's a freaking superstar. All right, what else should we see? Oh, we skipped shipping. Let's go back to shipping, guys. Come on to shipping. Thank you, Jordan. Everybody say hi to Stephanie.
Hi.
Actually, you want to explain shipping? Because you started shipping at our house.
Oh, yes,
in our
that's
spare
true.
room. I took, poor Stephanie, I took her pole room for pole dancing fitness. It's for fitness, guys.
It was very sad.
Yeah.
Definitely fitness.
And we turned it into shipping for about a year and a half. So we finally got shipping out of our house and into here. So you kind of just tell us how the signs move through here and what we've done.
This is one of our raw steel signs. And the first thing that we do with every sign is we actually wrap it in stretch film. And here we go, thank you. After we wrap it in the stretch film, we then kind of create like a little box for it to get shipped in with these flat corrugated sheets. We found that these corrugated sheets actually work the best to give it a little bit of padding while they're getting shipped off. So this is the cutting table. We basically just crafted it out of just some cheap plywood that we found around the shop, just to have a table, so we basically weren't shipping on the floor and cutting up the carpet anymore. That's how that went down.
So now the signs go from kind of boxing, and then we've kind of made like an assembly line situation here where now it goes into fulfillment. We have a computer just dedicated right here where you can print your labels, weigh the boxes out, and then we kind of stack them all up here in front of the window by the front door for UPS to come pick them up.
Yeah, one of the best things is we use the software ShipStation, and that actually integrates all of the platforms that we sell on, and so you can just go to one website and it has all your orders right there.
And do all your shipping in one spot.
Yeah.
So that's been a big boon for us.
Yeah,
so this doesn't look like much, but if you guys are going to run an e-commerce store, this is where you need to start. If you can't ship it, you can't sell it online.
Yeah.
So everything we design and sell, we design it with shipping in mind. How are we going to get this to the customer, you know, efficiently and cheaply? Because if you guys don't have a station like this dedicated for shipping, you're going to be wasting a bunch of time and honestly losing money in your shipping process. So that's a great place to start and focus if you guys don't have a dedicated shipping space, is to try and put one of those together. It'll change your whole operation.
Yeah, one thing that definitely changed our game was getting a scale.
Yeah.
Weighing all of our stuff, so we weren't paying too much or then having to go to the post office and pay extra.
Yes, you don't need much, a computer, a label printer, and a scale.
Yep.
You know, so for a couple $100 you can really have like the most efficient shipping setup you can imagine. Well, let's go head back to the shop and show you guys some of the fun stuff. Welcome to the shop. I feel like this is an episode of MTV Cribs. This is where the magic happens. We got Dan here. This is really his zone, his area. He's really kind of made this his own. He came to help us figure out handrail, what has it been, a few months ago?
Yeah, something like 2-3 months ago.
And it's been all pretty exciting since. So why don't you just kind of work us through this space here and explain some of these tools that we've collected over the time, and kind of give some people some ideas for their own metal shop.
All right, so first we got this brake here that you found a really great deal on, and we kind of pimped it out and made it our own.
Yeah, it's down right now. We got a bushing that was all messed up because we bought it used. So I traded a buddy some scrap metal that's got a lathe, and he's going to turn one for us and get this thing back rolling. But basically you can bend up any sort of 4-foot wide sheets on here, and then all these fingers come out and slide around so that you can make boxes. Because inevitably once you get two sides bent up, if you try and put it in here, those sides that you bent up, if you want to get that third side, end up hitting the brake itself. So this one has these fingers that can pop out, and you can slide and adjust them so you can make your own custom boxes and pans now, instead of just like basically bent channels. It's the big benefit of a finger brake. Then the next thing we got is, we have this little generator down here. It's nothing fancy, but it just helps us out when we do little field installs. It'll run a roto hammer. That's about it. I wouldn't put a welder on it, but grinder, roto hammer, charge some batteries for your drills. Works for all that kind of stuff. Just got a cheapo little Amazon Chinese drill press, but it just helps our bits last a little bit longer, helps us be a little more efficient.
To be cheap, it's awesome. I love this little thing, man.
So we actually did an unboxing and an assembly video earlier, so if you guys want to go check that out, it's on the channel. Then like the next most exciting thing, we finally leveled up. We've had a plasma cutter for like the whole 6 years I've been doing this, but for whatever reason I never got set of torches until Dan got here and basically demanded that we get it. Pretty basic tool for a metal shop. You can cut stuff with it with the cutting tip, and then we also got ourselves a rosebud tip where you can just use that to heat stuff up and try and bend it. So that kind of comes in handy for some of this ornamental work. And then the cutting just comes in handy just to do a lot of repairs and fixes on stuff that comes through the back door that we do just kind of keep the lights on. Oh, you got to talk about your table. Your pride and joy.
This is my table. I brought it in with me when I started here. You already had a couple of tables, but this is the table I built for handrail. I've got all these holes so these clamps fit through the top of it, hold everything down all over the table. As you can see, I got my thousands of clamps and your thousands of clamps and a little bit of everything all around it. Everything is right where I need it to be. I've got my grinders right here. I've got, clamps I like the most right here where I stand all day.
Clamps you like the weirdest?
Yeah, the
over here?
ones that I never use are over there. I got my hammers right here where I can reach them. Even got my handy dandy bench cleaning brush right there where I need it.
This is a really cool machine by Miller. They actually repurposed a MIG chassis and turned it into a TIG welder. So over here, instead of wire feeder, drive rolls, and your lugs to switch your polarity, this is actually now just like a little storage cabinet for the TIG torch, your pedal, and your grounding clamp. So pretty neat little machine. This thing has a high freak start, so you can do exotics. Aluminum is really what we got it for, and then you can also do all of your stainless, mild steel, chromoly, TIG welding with it as well. But just super cool machine. It's even got the SD card slot, so you can add programs into it and kind of store settings and stuff that you like. Other machine we got from Miller is this big exciting beast, the 350P, and its big claim to fame is it does pulse, which is what that P stands for. So you can pulse MIG aluminum is the biggest thing, and really speed up any aluminum TIG process that you're doing. But it's not always right for everything, and I suck at pulse welding, so I don't do much of it. Luckily, Dan here has some experience in the past, so he's kind of our pulse guy if we ever run into that kind of stuff. But on top of that, this is like a 100% duty cycle machine. You can just run it into the ground. So this is part of our scalability in this section of the shop. Is you got to have enough power for everybody to work is the first thing, and then you got to have enough machines for everybody to work with at the same time. So what we've done here is we've added a second layout and welding table and a third layout and welding table. So this one kind of becomes a queue or like storage for material that's being cut and staged for another build. And then these both become kind of tacking, fit up, weld out stations. And my favorite thing is when we got Dan and myself, or Dan and Heartless, both welding here or grinding at the same time. It just does my heart good, man. It's like such a crazy moment to see that kind of stuff in here because we started so small. So that's kind of what we're doing here in this station to make it scalable. Is we're not stopping at one table or one welder or one power hookup. We're starting now to try and double and triple everything up so we can grow and add stations and slowly start finding the work with the salespeople up front to fill up each one of these 5 days a week, so we can have like dedicated people doing like the same repeatable thing. But for now, we kind of jump around to each station, but they're already set up for us. So we're not breaking down a whole part of the shop just to like set up a different welding operation, because now we have the space to kind of have it all set up and keep it that way, so we can just move our bodies and, you know, the project over to the right station. Anything else noteworthy? All right.
Oh, my favorite tool in this whole place. I got my second guy, Heartless, come here.
Yeah, all right, Heartless, come on in here.
This is the best tool in this whole department.
This is Heartless. He joined us in fabrication as an apprentice, really, but then we found out he knows how to do 3D CAD. You guys catching this? He does 3D CAD. Bonus. Anyways, so we're getting like crazy talented people here randomly, and it's really cool to see how everybody has their own ideas to make this stuff better. Like, what has changed in the 7 or 8 weeks?
The entire shop.
Several times over.
Yeah, the entire shop, the whole layout has changed multiple times. It's just continuous improvement.
See, that's what it's all about, guys. That's what we're always pushing for, is we know we're not perfect. This is the hardest this should ever be, is today. And we keep working on making it easier, and I think it is getting easier in here every day, you know, and that's really what it's all about. It's not being perfect. It's just having the attitude that, you know, we can be better and we're not the best, you know, to begin with. So that's kind of how we start from all this stuff. You want to show us your new cutting station?
Yeah,
While
yeah.
we got you here. Come on, let's go check out the new Bailey dual mitering bandsaw.
So we pretty much got the Porsche of saws as far as I'm concerned.
It does feel rather Porsche-esque.
I mean, it's really expertly engineered. Whoever made this, you know, they put a lot of thought into literally every little aspect of this thing. There's so many just little features, you know, you wouldn't see unless you worked with it. But it makes the job incredibly just less labor oriented. We can cut about 3 times as fast with this compared to our previous setup.
And same thing with this saw. We looked at it from a scalability standpoint. Dan has an Ellis saw in his shop, and he's been using them for years and was a huge fan. So I looked really, really seriously at the Ellis saws. The only thing that hung me up was it's a dry saw, which is great for cutting, you know, 2 to 4 hours a day, which, you know, is pretty much covers most of our production right now. But one day the goal is to fill this saw up and have it running 8-10 hours a day. So we needed a saw that could run 8-10 hours a day, and in order to do that, you really need liquid cooling. So that's what pushed me over the top to this sort of Bailey saw here, which is the BS 260M with the 220 volt motor, the gear reduction, and it's got basically safety switches on all the covers, so if the covers aren't off, the saw won't start. It's got a safety switch. If the blade breaks, the saw will shut itself off. At the end of a cut, there's another switch that shuts the saw off. You can operate it from this box right here, or you can operate it from this switch right here. It's pretty incredible. Let's go see what Aaron's doing back here. Hey! What's up, Aaron? You want to kind of explain the grinding process a little bit?
Well, first I want to start off with, we have the sorting rack over here that we pull the signs off of the cutting table and we put them in sorting rack. It's got different powder coat colors that are all in little cubbies and things. You got silver, black, clear, indoor clear, outdoor clear, and raw. So you pull those off and then you throw them on the table here.
Well, let me stop you real quick. The coolest thing about this table, somebody on Instagram told me, go get some stall mats from Tractor Supply and cut them to fit the top of your table. That way you won't need to use clamps anymore. So it's not perfect
It is a lot better than
You
what
know,
it was.
small stuff or whatever still kind of flies across the shop, which is why we got this screen. But this helps us where we don't need to use clamps and saves us a bunch of time, I'd say, over the course of
Yeah,
a day.
definitely.
For sure.
Definitely. You're not wasting time having to clamp them down and then unclamp them to flip the sign over and clamp them again. You can just flip it over and go. So originally we were just using a grinding rock to take down all of the slag on the back of the signs. That took about 45 minutes to do a sign until we realized that the wire wheel here actually takes it down a lot faster. So now we've got, I don't know, we could do about 4 signs in 5 minutes and then throw them on the table over here. We also have the welding station little setup over here for when we need to fix the signs and things.
Yeah, we used to take them all the way across the shop over to welding and then bring them back over here to go on the cart. So instead we bought a little 110 flux core Hobart welder. I think it's the Hobart Handler 140 probably. And now we can do all of our little welding on brackets, minor sign fixes all right here, and we're not wasting motion across the shop. So this is like another piece of making this scalable, so we can just drop another person in here and they have everything they need to do this activity. You know, we're not so much focused on just the tools anymore. It's really about building stations for us.
We have a mini, I don't know what you would call it.
It's a press brake. This is the Swag Off-Road press brake die kit inside of a Hobo Freight 20-ton H-frame press, basically. So super cheap way to get some 90-degree bends out of plate done in your shop. Same thing here. You're going to need hanging brackets on the signs. You have to weld them on. So why not just bend them right here at this station instead of somewhere else where they're not even needed. This is Dylan. He hates the camera, just so you know. But he is really my first partner in crime here. He's the first guy that came in and really bought into the whole maker table story and idea of like building this business from our backyard. And so he's been here the whole time. He just hates being on camera. So he hasn't really been in any of the YouTube stuff or much on Instagram. But he's really the reason why a lot of this stuff happens. He's here late every night with me. Here early every morning, you know, like, so this is Dylan, and the table has become his baby. For the first 6 months or so after I built the table, I was still really unsure about it and not ready to hand it off. But, you know, in the same vein as the rest of this stuff, you know, I had to look at this as a station too, that eventually once it got filled up, it was time to hand it off to somebody else and train them on it. So there's a video about the original table that we did last week. You guys can go watch that, whether to build or buy. But at this point, we have bought a Shop Saver plasma table, and this thing is a workhorse. So Dylan, you know, take it away, buddy. Tell us about your baby.
First of all, hey guys. Adam already introduced me, so I'm Dylan. It's nice to meet you. This is the plasma table, and it's a huge step up from the plasma that we use for the last what we get it 6 months ago, so like a year and a half we were running the old table, and one of the biggest problems that we had was the unsustainability. And the greatest part about this Shop Saver is that every day it's tried and true, and it's always more predictable and sustainable. So
we get more signs out the door with this table than we did with the other one. Is the bottom line.
Right, this very moment, the biggest improvement that I'm excited about is that we added these pallet racks the other day. So now all the steel that we're going to be cutting, we can store right here. And what I think is really impressive about it is that this forklift is contained right in this little area where most of our employees don't need to go.
I guess really we should show them the air compressor. So this was a big game changer for us. We ended up buying these cheaper Tractor Supply Ingersoll Rand air compressors on sale. And because of that decision, they basically are not designed to run 8 to 10 hours a day, 7 days a week like we do. So inevitably, one of these motors always blows up, and we have to replace it. So at one point, we were in our Christmas rush last year. One compressor went down. We didn't have time to warranty repair it, so we just bought another one. And now we have them daisy chained together where we can swap the motors out. Basically swap the compressors to the one that's working, fix the one that's down before the other one breaks, and then swap back over when it breaks. And then we finally stepped up from the Hobo Freight air dryer to this little number right here. I'll give these guys a shout out. Polar Air Compressors by Eaton. These guys make a pretty decent air dryer. You know, not the cheapest, but definitely the cheapest one that's not the Harbor Freight. And this thing works awesome. Here in the South, we have tons of humidity, tons of water in the air, and if you guys know, plasma and water don't mix. So now we have 160 gallons of capacity, and we have dry air for everything in the shop. So, you know, the air dryer helps us at powder coat, it helps all of our pneumatic tools last longer, and it also helps our consumables last longer and our cut quality improve on the plasma table. So about the most boring tool I've ever bought in my life is this stupid black box with 3 buttons on it, but it makes everything else better in our shop.
Everything.
And it's going to end up saving us money in the long run. So it's, you know, sometimes you have to make decisions like this and just buy boring technology and tools that are going to help everything else just be a little bit better. You want to cover this other cutting station? I'm just going to do it. Come on, guys. Come on over here. I was super excited about this. I thought this was the ultimate game changer. I bought this used from a guy when I was going to pick up some other racks. He had this set up there. Got 2 roller conveyors. We actually stole 1 roller conveyor to set up the bandsaw because those roller conveyors haven't showed up. But I thought this was going to be like the ultimate cutting station. We originally had, you know, we got this chop saw with the diamond blade, which works great for mild steel, but if you go to aluminum, it gums it up, and then back to mild steel, it ends up not cutting that well. So we ended up going with one of these Evolution saws that cuts a lot like a cold saw. I know technically it's not, but the chips it makes are a lot closer to a cold saw chip than a abrasive chop saw chip. We designed it for basically another operator to step in here and be safe and be efficient so that you don't have to bend and pick up tubes at weird angles and hurt your back. You can see your measurements really well right here with the lights, and all of our saws still have the guards on them. We have spare blades right back here for everything, and we even have an air hose right here so you can blow down the station when you're done with it. So we really try and go through and make it so there's no reason to leave this station. Once you get rolling and get cutting, you should have everything you need. But this is kind of old hat now that we have the bandsaw. I think we're going to be using that a lot more. Last thing here is really our powder coat. So I told you guys before, as you're growing stations, you don't necessarily have something that you can put somebody on all day long. So we're going to have Aaron explain powder coat to us, because that's part of this, is bouncing back and forth between the stations before you get the sales big enough where you can keep it busy all the time. So this is the real world for us. We have all these stations set up, but we don't necessarily have people for them all day long, and that's okay, because it even makes us more efficient as we do changeovers if something's already set up for us in the next place. So this is one of those great examples. He can get a lot of the grinding done almost ahead of the table, and then he has spare time. So instead of sending him home or having him do some bullshit or having him do some BS like sweeping up the shop, instead he can go over here and add value to the customer by powder coating some signs and help us be more profitable and more efficient here. So kind of tell us the story of powder coat. I guess I'll start and then you can kind of pick up where I leave off. Yeah. We found a guy that was moving out of state and going out of business in powder coat. So we bought his, he DIY, handmade this oven. He had a Harbor Freight gun. He had an Eastwood gun. And then he had a Cool Coat gun from Columbia Coatings. All 3 of those suck when you're trying to powder coat a whole rack like this. If you want to powder coat stuff individually, it's fine, like 1 Yeti cup at a time, or 1 rim at a time. But we're trying to be efficient and get throughput and get a lot of stuff done. So we decided we had to be able to spray inside of these racks, which were built to fit, the inside of our oven with about, an inch of clearance all the way around. So we're trying to maximize our space and maximize our efficiency. And so we really had to step up to this big industrial Wagner powder gun. And this is the big game changer for us, to be able to powder and apply powder to a bunch of stuff all at once in the rack without treating each thing individually as its own event. So kind of what have you seen since you've been here? We kind of handed powder coat to you pretty quick when you showed up, and it soon became your baby, because I kind of feel like you enjoy it.
I do. Powder coating is by far my favorite thing. When I got here about 4 months ago, this shelf didn't look very much like it was We were still using everything in bags. And the problem with putting it in bags is when you drop this thing down, it'll actually sit and it'll suck up into the bottom of the plastic, and you won't get any powder coat that's shooting through the gun. So I switched a lot of the main powder coat colors that we use into the tubs right here, and that actually did a big improvement. Another good improvement that we did, the oven didn't really heat up fast enough. There was one point in time where it took about 3 hours to cure some signs.
Especially as we've gotten into winter and it gets colder here in the shop.
As it gets, that does not help at all.
It has a really hard time keeping up.
Yeah. So we had Dan fabricate us up a thing. So we have a hole here, and we have a little torpedo heater that I rigged up to a rack. We lost a rack, but this one we didn't really use all that often because of its shape. It was very awkward to get, to fill it up. So I made the torpedo heater look like an elephant and hung it in the air. We hook it up to the hole right there, and it shoots 500-600 degree air into the oven and actually makes it so that we can powder coat and completely cure something at 430 degrees in about 45 minutes.
Maybe not recommended, but it works and it's getting it done, and we're able to sell powder coat in winter when otherwise we would have to buy like a whole new crazy oven. I just noticed like right on here, you guys already have like a dedicated power cord just for this. And then I'm not sure what this bit is for, but I'm guessing it's something.
Yeah, the bit was originally for the clamp.
Oh, for the hose clamp.
Yeah, but we had some problems keeping it because it would go in and it would shrink the thing down so it didn't go over the hole. So I took it off, and now I just put it up against the hole and then push the thing onto it, and it holds it enough that it works a lot better.
Okay, but still, like this is like
that is for that.
The thoughtfulness that's going into a lot of the shop here, and this stuff gets me really excited. To see that we have the people here doing these kind of improvements, because it's so hard to find good people, and to see stuff like this. If you have anybody that joins your team that starts improving stuff to this level, you better hang on to them, because this is not the normal type of thinking for an employee. This is the type of thinking for somebody that's bought in and that really believes in what we're doing and wants to help the process and the guys next to him, make a living. So. And this is going to make somebody's life easier, down here, probably for years and years and years, or give them an idea to do this at their station. So I never would have thought about zip tying a nut to a frame to make a little bit holder. Just super ingenious little ways to make your life easier. And there's a bunch of that around here in the shop that we didn't cover, but that's the level of detail that you guys can go to. It doesn't have to be a whole huge thousands of dollar piece of equipment. It can just be zip tying a nut to anywhere in your shop to help hold a bit for you. All right, guys. So that is the shop tour. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys got something a little bit from it. Check us out on Instagram, maker.table. Hit subscribe down below. We're going to be dropping a video every week on Saturday. Hope you guys are making some awesome stuff. Later.